Okay, so just making a quick tutorial on how to fix incorrectly placed attachments, specifically silencers for this tutorial. So here I've got a custom Glock 18C with a custom silencer on it, and it's obviously floating in the air, and we want to try and attach it. So yeah, let me just exit out of GTA 5. Tutorial guide. So the first thing you want to do is get OpenIV. There's a bunch of different tutorials on how to actually install OpenIV, so I won't go over that. Then you want to set up your mods folder with OpenIV, and then this is sort of going to be a comprehensive guide, so I'm going to go into some more details besides just the editing the attachment, some stuff you want to have set up already. So you also want to have trainers, in this case, a simple trainer, so you can actually spawn in the guns and add the attachments as well as use multiplayer guns. Then you want to also have a mods folder, and what easy mods folder will allow you to do is just drag and drop the custom gun files into the folder instead of having to actually go to the gun file location and replace it. It makes adding guns really quick and really easy, so definitely use easy mod folder. You'll find the installation and how to actually do that on the page. And then if you're looking to edit first-person iron sights, you actually have to go into the weapon.metadata and edit these values. I went with this tutorial on GTA 5 mods by Ganja Farmer. He goes over how to actually, like, where the metadata folders are located and what changing each different value will do. In this case, what I have set up is I have a little drawn guide of what adjusting the different offsets will do for you. So increasing it in the scope offset will raise the gun where the gun is located, and this will raise the angle of the gun. So increasing the X will pivot the barrel of the gun upwards and the back end of the gun downwards. So I just think of this as moving the end of the gun, and this is moving the gun itself. And then you just have to go to the meta file and just save your adjustments, replace the current file, go into the game, and then look at it, and then see where your camera is. It's really tedious. It's really time consuming. It takes a long ass time to do, but eventually you can line up your iron sights correctly. In terms of actually fixing the attachment locations, you're going to have to use ZModeler. You can get a free 14-week trial for it, and this allows you to actually open the gun file and edit the attachment points. Usually there's two fixes you can do. The first one you want to try doing is editing the position of the attachment itself and making sure the custom attachment is lined up correctly. Usually if you do this fix, it'll fix the attachment for a lot of other guns. And then if that still doesn't work, then you'll have to actually edit where the attachment is positioned on the weapon node itself. And that'll only fix that specific gun. So, and when you do change where the node is attached on the specific gun, what I've been finding is the silencer, for instance, will start bouncing up and down like too much. It'll try and like go back to its original location, and what you have to do is you have to create a copy of that node, and then you have to do this copy local access thing, which I'll show you. And then on top of that, optional for modding GTA a bit better. If you have an SSD, I highly recommend you install GTA 5 on an SSD because you'll have to load up the game a lot, and an SSD just has faster load times. And optional stuff to avoid crashing. If you're really heavily modding your game, you definitely need a game config. It helps a lot with avoiding crashing. Heap adjuster is absolutely fantastic. This is probably the thing that stopped the most crashing for me. I think it makes the game use more memory, and I'm not sure if it's RAM or if it's VRAM, but in this case I just show you what I have set up. I have 2000 in the heap adjuster. You have to set the memory usage. I have mine to 2000, and I have 16 gigabytes of RAM and 18 gigabytes of and then there's pack file limit adjuster. I don't quite remember what this does, but it helps anyway. And then CES point scenario is for like having a bunch of like custom scripts and stuff. So yeah, easy mods folder. In this case, this is what I'm using OpenIV. So just going into, let's just start from my GTA 5 mods. So here I've got my mods folder. I go into here. I think DLC packs, easy mods folders where I have it installed. Have weapons. So these are all the weapons I'm using right now. All I have to do is just drag and drop the weapons into this folder, and it finds the location name and replaces it. So it makes it really, really easy to quickly replace weapons. And in this case, we have the AP pistol right here. The YDR is the actual model itself, and the attachment silencer that goes with it is the suppressor right here. It's not attaching correctly, so now we're going to try and fix that. And so I've already downloaded ZModeler. You'll have to look at a tutorial for how to download and all that stuff. ZModeler right here. And then what we want to do is import our original gun and our original suppressor. Suppressor setup. Originally, when you have this set up, you'll have it set on perspective. I change it to 3D because it makes looking at things a lot easier. And then in order to actually see things, you need to go to structure up here and click this button, and now you can see it. And if you get too close to it, it'll disappear, which is really annoying. So what we want to do is hold shift and then right mouse button and like click and drag it until it stops disappearing. And now we can look at our actual model here. And we can see like what the model is actually composed of. Suppressor, the collision in there. Also opening up our original pistol itself. There's the same pistol model. And basically what we're going to do now is just delete a bunch of stuff and then keep the stuff we need to actually use. Structures are sort of all linked and nested in each other. With the actual gun itself, what we want to do first is unleak a bunch of stuff from it. We're trying to just get to the actual suppressor. So go to gun made bone, unlink children. You want to unlink stuff because if you delete one of these parents, it'll delete all the children, all the things attached to it. And then we're just going to do our pistol. And now we've got right here. This came from the gun, and this is basically the location that the silencer is actually put at. It's like the position. So this silencer would get positioned to be placed here, which would align with the gun. And we have the original silencer. We're not using the original silencer, so we're just going to delete this. And now we're left with sort of the other data in there. Then what we want to do is import our our custom modded silencer, the thing I just showed you in my weapons folder, where we're going to import this silencer, basically. So I already have these files quick and easy for me to access. So here's my broken modded gun and the suppressor. So take in the YDR. The YDR is the model itself. Okay, so here's our suppressor. So basically what we've got is we have our modded suppressor has the texture, and then it has its sort of a position node, whatever the hell it is, attached to it. So we just want the mesh itself, the actual this, and we're gonna there for this. So we're just gonna hit, and now I've got our texture node, have our position thing here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to essentially create an axis for where the suppressor will be attached to. So for instance, well, it's sort of like where the suppressor pivots off of. So like if I were to attach this suppressor to this right now, this is where my suppressor would be attaching, this is where the game would think the suppressor is, and then it would attach that to my gun. I want my suppressor to attach from its end right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this box here and we're going to move it until it's at the center of where the suppressor would normally attach to. This, and you can press this isolate button just to look at what you're currently clicked on. So if I want to just see the suppressor, if I want to just see this, then in terms of actually and boxes, okay, it's right here. So this pan thing helps us move the camera. And then if we actually want to move it, we go to modify, we go to move, and move this right here. Button. And you can lock axes so you can only move in the X direction. Good. Y direction. And also this program comes with a little pointer that always stays on your screen. This doesn't do anything. It's just really helpful for positioning things. So we'll just move this. Looks pretty centered. And looking at our suppressor, shift right click, go. All I'm doing right now is just lining things up. I'm just trying to get it so that the suppressor, the center of the suppressor is on this axis and the actual node itself is centered right here. Just centering things. This is the first thing you want to try and do. Because sometimes what a modder will have is they'll have their attachment point like right in the center of your suppressor, and that'll make the suppressor clip into your gun. Don't want. So like for instance, this right here is its current axis. It's not quite center. Center would be like right down the middle, across. These tips right here to line things up. This axis, we're going to move it to our actual dot. One is centered. Then what we do, so this is all stuff. I'm going to click isolate just to look at this node here. Copy local axes from one node to another. On this node, it's going to have this little arrow. We're just going to point that at our suppressor, and you'll see this thing right here move to the center. Yep, and there we go. Now it's perfectly centered. It'll attach it at the center here. And yeah, that's how you fix where the actual attachment point is on the suppressor. In this case with this gun, the attachment point isn't the problem. It's actually where the node is on the gun itself. So I'll be showing you how to fix that part next. Hey, I'm doing a recording, so be quiet, please. No problem, I'm just letting you know. Okay, so just quick. See, okay, and so if you want to just try this fix first, what you'll do is export. Find the folder I want to save it in. Okay, so you'll do export, and you want to have the exact same name as what the actual suppressor is called. So in this case, it's w@pisuppressor.ydr. We just click on it, and it'll copy our name, go back up, and then save it in our actual location we want it to be in. Oh, wait, before we do that, I almost forgot. We have to pack it correctly. Whoops. So we don't need this node anymore. We already positioned our gun correctly, so we'll delete it. And then we'll just take this and we'll just drag it into here. There, now it's packed correctly. I'm just planning on doing this in one take, so I'll make some mistakes here and there. Okay, back to exporting. Okay, so there is our suppressor. Usually there's like the high version. So you'll also have to take your suppressor, copy and paste it, and then rename it to an underscore high at the end of it. Usually the gun file and the suppressor file come in, I guess, normal and high variants. Okay, so that's the suppressor fix. I won't go back in game to show you it working, but it does work. But on this gun, it won't actually fix the gun itself. But I try this first to make sure. There's our suppressor. Now what we'll do is we'll take the gun itself our modded gun. Let me just hide our fixed suppressor. So here's our modded gun. And if we look at this gun root, what we care about is where the suppressor is located. So I'm just going to turn off all this stuff except for the gun itself. Click this back and forth. So here's where our suppressor is. This is where our suppressor is going to be located. And the silencer is gonna attach right at the center here. So what we can do now is just line things up. Thing here. Usually the suppressor is already correctly positioned on this axis. It's just how far it is from the gun that's messed up. That pan tool on. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just isolate this, and I'm gonna use my marker to keep track of where things are positioned. And I'm gonna actually move my suppressor and see where my suppressor would actually attach on the gun itself. Look at my suppressor now. Got this all set up. To this point, see what it looked like with the gun. Actually sort of adjust the suppressor to your liking. See whether or not it looks nice. It could also be like physically accurate and try to make it actually line up with the barrel itself. If I move this up, then what I have to do is I have to move the suppressor, the actual node, weapon node suppressor thing, to where suppressor is aligned. Case. I'm gonna keep this weapon node right here. Okay. I want to be exporting my suppressor, so now I'm just going to delete this. Also make sure you save stuff too. I just save like this entire file with my fixed suppressor. Test one. Okay. Just in case I want to pull up this suppressor again, or I delete it. I've already exported the suppressor as a YDR file, so. Fine. So I can take this and and export it. And let me show you what will happen if I export it how it is right now, because this is a problem you might have, is the suppressor's in the correct location, but it bounces up and down a bunch. Find the name of the gun itself, maybe pistol, okay. Hi. Okay. Then using the easy mods folder I've set up, all I have to do is just click and drag. Show you something. So here is our suppressor. As you can see, it's actually lined up towards the bottom here. And when we drag in our new suppressor, it's now lined up more centered. So we sort of fixed the centering on this. This one actually wasn't that bad. It would have worked fine for most guns, but some of them. And the pistol itself, you want to actually see the nodes, so there's no point in opening up the game and hopefully show you that bounce issue. Rockstar verification takes forever. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention is when you're lining up the iron sights, a really good way to do it is to install Reshade and then to use this overlay that has a little marker appear. So you'll know exactly where the center of the screen is, and you'll know exactly how to center your sights with the center of the screen. You'll know where your bullet's going. Just a pro tip. So like, see, I can turn the thing on and off. Okay. So, hey, there it is. So here is our Glock 18. Suppressor is now attached, but when we shoot it, the suppressor is sort of uncoupling itself and moving back, I think, towards its original position, which is not what we want. Sorry, dog. So, yeah, we need to fix that and make it so the suppressor stops moving too far forward. So going back, demodeler. Do again is we'll just isolate the suppressor. And what we want to do is create a copy of the actual node itself. So before we do that, let me just save. Copy on. we go. We just make a copy. See, these do is so far I've just been dragging this forward just to the left a bit. Maybe also selecting too many things at once. Let me open up the file back again. Okay, let me make a copy again. On the fly, so let me lock my x-axis. All I want to do is just move it to the right. Isolate it so I can see it and not accidentally click else. So far, I haven't done too much testing in terms of how far you're supposed to move it or if it even makes a difference. I've just moved it like a distance, probably close to where it originally was, maybe as a rule of thumb, but I don't know. Back. Now let's see. Copy local access from your node. Keep unchecking and rechecking things. I did just get the software yesterday, and I'm just using the free trial to do all this stuff. Here is where paste this. Should hopefully work out. Okay. Our crystals from before. Name. Just got caps lock on. Load up the game and see if it worked. Okay. Test it. And there we go. So now it's working. We stop the bouncing and everything's good. So yeah, that's you fix weapon attachments for modded guns. For watching. I guess beyond that now, just some additional stuff. If you're interested in all the guns that I have replaced, try to stay really organized. So here is a list of all the guns. I've sort of tracked down which guns replace what, and these names should be accurate to what they're actually called. The only gun I think I'm not using is this one right now either. Red means not used. Green means you actually have to edit the metadata a little bit, which should be in the actual gun installation specifically. But yeah, here are all the guns that I'm using. That. I guess one issue you might have with ZModeler is sometimes either the modded gun won't load or the silencer won't load. And then it becomes really tricky because what you have to do is essentially only work with the modded silencer or only work with the modded gun. So you can adjust the position of the silencer or you can adjust the position of the gun node itself. So that may be an issue you have. That requires a lot more testing, but yeah. That, I think that's everything.